So overall, despite this being a better performance in either the Wolves or Tottenham game, I don't think this game has done much to dissuade my concern. The two Forest goals are freakishly comical, and so you can't really put it down to the system. But I actually feel like going 2-0 down early on actually played into United's hands, as Forest were then prepared to sit off in their 5-4-1 shape extremely deep. And because subsequently Nottingham Forest weren't engaging United high up the pitch, they didn't experience the same problems in the build-up phase as they did against Wolves and Tottenham. And so for me, I think Steve Cooper's tactics played right into United's hands and made the game a lot easier than it actually should have been. Because if you actually think about it, if you take away the first 5 minutes, this was actually a pretty comfortable performance for United. They dominated possession and created some fairly good chances. And so you may be asking, why exactly am I still concerned? But before I go any further, are you looking to dramatically improve your fantasy football point score from last season? Well, let me tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Fantasy Football Fix, which is the perfect tool for anyone who wants to get the best possible start to this FPL season, as they provide an Elite 11 team reveal which allows you to track fantasy football's greatest ever managers in real time, with over 82 top 10,000 and 61 top 5,000 finishes. And just in my opinion, if you're not using this and someone else is, you're at a massive disadvantage. But not just that, Fantasy Football Fix also allows you to see the pre-deadline captain ownership data. The assistant manager tool also allows you to unlock transfer optimization, and you can also get predicted prices data to potentially get an advantage in the long run by increasing your team's overall value. And alongside this, they also have stats from Opta, they have predicted player points and much more. And I personally will definitely be using Fantasy Football Fix, and I'll be setting up my own fantasy football league, so I'll put a code somewhere either on the screen or in the description. So not only can you join my league, but you can also use Fantasy Football Fix to try to beat me as well. And so I'll leave it linked in the description for you to go to after this video. So I thought we'd start off with a bit of comedy, so let's look at Forest's 2 opening goals in the opening 5 minutes. And this may be controversial, but I'm actually not going to blame an individual player. I'm putting the blame firmly on Ten Hag and whoever else is involved in coaching defensive set pieces. Because I'm not over exaggerating when I say this, but these were 2 of the worst set piece goals I've ever seen conceded. The first one comes from a United corner. And for some reason United push everyone forward, keep Wan-Bissaka, Antony and Rashford about 10 yards outside of the box instead of just keeping one behind in case this exact scenario happens. Really, it should be Wan-Bissaka who's the last man. He's got the pace, he's got the tackling ability, he's basically the perfect recovery defender. So why he's not the deepest man who's just there to pick up loose balls, I do not know, but what happens is Wan-Bissaka goes for a header, and because both Rashford and Antony are basically level with him, when the ball gets headed on, there's no United player who can come from deep and move on to the ball, which there always should be in these situations. And now it becomes a foot race between Awani and Rashford, and for me Rashford has to do better. If he's going to commit to the challenge, he has to bring him down. I don't think it would be a red card because it's in his own half, but what he really should do is not even commit to the tackle at all, just run alongside Awani and basically hold him up until players can get back in position. As what he actually does is he commits to the challenge but then realises that if he brings him down there is a possibility of a red card, and so he kind of half pulls out of the challenge, allowing Awani to knock the ball ahead, and now he's got a 60-yard run. And I know Onana's going to get a lot of criticism for not coming out, but I understand why he didn't. In so many of these situations you see the keeper rush out and it makes a centre forward's job easy. Either he can just lob him if he's got enough time, or more likely than not he just goes around the keeper's either forced to bring him down, or if he doesn't, the attacker's left with an empty net to slot the ball into. And so I understand why Onana stayed on his line so long, also because it's Rashford chasing him back, and you'd think over 60 yards you'd probably back Rashford to make up that ground. But as soon as he enters a box, I think Onana's got to rush out and just basically do as much as he can to put Awani off, because he leaves it too late, and in the end Awani's got a simple finish past him, and so in the end this goal is just a clusterfuck of errors. But I think this all stems from the set piece coaching, because why on earth is there no one behind Rashford or Antony in that situation? Why are Wan-Bissaka, Antony all basically in a line midway into the Nottingham Forest half? Like, I genuinely don't see the benefit of having 3 players there rather than having just 2 players or maybe 1 player sitting back, particularly when you've got Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who literally may be the best recovery defender in world football. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But if you thought that was bad, the second goal is probably even worse. So it comes from a Morgan Gibbs-White free kick on the right hand side. It's an outswinger, and if you look in the 6-yard box you can see Willy Boly is literally the only Nottingham Forest player in the 6-yard box. and he's surrounded by 5 or 6 United defenders, and so it seems like United are going for a zonal marking system, but in a zonal marking system, because players are essentially marking space, you have to have players who are capable of winning their aerial duel, attacking the ball, but here United players just stand completely still, with absolutely no one taking command in any of these areas, and you know the saying, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. Well, this set piece is a perfect example of it. You've got Bruno Fernandes at the front of the pack, but behind him you've got Rashford and Lisandro Martinez, and this area just by the front post is the most vital area when defending this sort of set piece. You need someone with dominant aerial ability who can really win an aerial challenge even against the biggest defenders. Because what happens is you have Rashford who kind of half-heartedly attacks the ball, Lisandro Martinez who's probably blindsided, but he's not the best in the air anyway because of his height, and all that happens is it gets flicked on, literally just hits off Bolly's head and goes into the net. And whilst I would say that Marcus Rashford was at fault for both of the goals from a defensive point of view, and he definitely had to do better in these sorts of situations, I would argue that he shouldn't even be in these situations. Why from an attacking set piece do you have so many players pushed forward and 3 players just in the middle of the Forest half? And why from an attacking set piece are Rashford and Antony the deepest 2 players? And also why put Marcus Rashford in that zonal position which is so vital for defending that sort of set piece? If you're going to defend zonal, you need someone like Casemiro in that area. You can't have someone like Rashford, because if he doesn't win the aerial challenge, you end up in this exact situation. So I've gone on for 5 minutes about the whole set piece issue, which may seem excessive, but if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, it's actually a huge problem for United. Forest only had 33% of possession and still managed to score 2 goals, one of which came from an attacking set piece situation. So imagine when United face a team like Arsenal, how many attacking opportunities from these type of set pieces are Arsenal going to be able to create next week? And if United are defending like this, I can't see how United don't give up a goal, particularly when you come up against sides like Brentford, who are legitimately world class when it comes to set pieces. And just one set piece goal in a game can be the difference between winning and drawing and losing. And particularly in big games where the difference between a win, a draw and a loss is a fine margin, United are going to suffer if they don't eradicate these sorts of mistakes very quickly. At the moment, I don't really know what the solution is. I'm going to have to do some research, so if you do want to see a video on how I would change United's defensive set pieces, or even look at how they can improve their attacking set pieces as well, let me know in the comment section below. I am also going to do another video looking at the goals we scored in this game, just because we're 6 minutes in and I've still got concerns. Now, if you ignore the comical defending for the Forest goals, there were a lot of good performances. I wouldn't say they were very good, I'd probably say they're around 6 or 7 out of 10, but certainly a massive improvement on the opening 2 games. But to be honest, you would expect that. United are at home against a pretty poor Forest side who are pretty tragic away from home, and so is that really much to shout about? I'm not sure. But in particular, I think Antony had a massive improvement in his game. He still showed his deficiencies, but one part of his game that I do really like and I can see developing is when he receives a ball on the flank in the final third and he's able to pick a pass, threading the ball either in behind the back line or finding a player between the lines. He actually did this on the right hand side. I think he threaded through Bruno Fernandes, but briefly in the first half he also switched to the opposite side and he was able to play a perfect midfield splitting pass, finding I think it was Casemiro inside of the box. He also got into some decent shooting positions both in the first and in the second half, and had a really good shot that was saved by Turner, and so there was a lot of promising parts of Antony's game, and so he's got to build on this and do this more often. He can't just do this every 7 or 8 games, and his overall performance standard has to improve, but it was a very positive performance from him today. However, for Casemiro, I'm very concerned. He once again was missing a load of tackles, just completely flying into challenges and getting completely bypassed. There was a time, I think it was in the second half, where he got dragged into the channel into a right back position and just dived in completely, and I think it was Anthony Elanga who just knocked the ball past him and got into a dangerous crossing position from it. Now, whilst I do still think Casemiro is a world-class defensive midfielder and a vital cog in this Ten Hag system, you can't ignore how poor he's been defensively in the last 3 games. Now, maybe it's just him getting back to fitness, it is the start of the season, but this is definitely something I'm going to keep an eye on, and he really has to turn it around quickly, because if he performs like that against Arsenal, we're going to get absolutely run through. So I am going to do a separate tactical analysis, analysing the goals as well. So subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you do get notified when that comes out. You can also check out some of my other videos which will be linked in the description, and let me know your thoughts as well in the comments section below.